What is going on? What is happening, people? We are back. Thank you for tuning in once again. This is SKF Weekly. You see it. It's Ron and John. We back, baby. Let's go. And I'm not doing this just because my New York Giants are 2-0. Let's go. Oh, well, the headphones coming off. I'm getting crazy with it. Yeah. Let's go. Oh man, y'all ain't ready. Don't let my Giants make the playoffs, B. No way.
It's a wrap. Not to mention, we are in full strength. The whole team is here. We back.
Yes, let's go. Let's go. What's happening, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Look, it's a great week, man. So far, we've got New York Giants victory. We got Yankees and Mets both winning. How long has it been? How long has it been since, 2009 maybe? Since
it's such a long time since all four teams won. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Even the Jets won. I mean, come on, man. Saying.
Jets, Giants, Yankees, Mets, like everyone's winning. SKF, we winning.
There you go. It must be a full moon or something, man. It's crazy. And listen,
I love it.
We're getting one step closer, getting one step closer to the next milestone, 2,000 subscribers. We're at 1986, so we're 14 away, guys, 14 away. So thank you for the love and support.
Right there.
Appreciate y'all, man. As I always say, man, let Nana know. Let the babysitter listen. You pay her to watch the kids. I mean, what's she doing anyway? You don't want her talking to, the girls or boyfriend or something. She need to be watching the kids, or he need to be watching the kids. Whoever it is, we got to be fair in this day and age. They should be tuned into Still Knicks fans as well. Monday night, you out to dinner, your babysitter should be watching Still Knicks fans. That's all I'm saying.
Not to mention, any of us, somewhat up the age of 40, 50 plus, tell your grandchildren. They may want to watch the Knicks, talk about the Knicks.
And listen, Still Knicks fans loves the kids. So, John does.
I got 4 to be exact.
All right. So we're off to a nice start tonight. And not for nothing, tonight is jam-packed. I don't know. I was looking at the airwaves. Today, right? I see what was popping. Everybody's on today. We're talking all the whole family. Shout out to Blorange Tears. Shout out to Diehardknicks, Eru in the building. Shout out to Knicks and Bruises. Shout out to the Queen's Court. Shout out to For the Love of the Game. Man, everybody's on tonight. It's crazy.
Nice.
and that ain't even all of them. I think there's a couple more on tonight too. It's one of them days, man. So yeah, man. I think we're all feeling good about all the New York teams doing well. It just makes us want to get on here and start talking. It is what it is.
Yeah. And the season's right around the corner. Preseason games soon to come. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the actual date, because I keep saying 2 weeks away, but that 2-week number is slowly
it's early October, isn't it?
Getting closer. Yeah. So yeah. It's not telling me the actual date. I don't know what the actual date is. September 24th, folks. September 24th is the start of training camp.
That's training camp. Okay. Wow. But that's not where the first game. The first game was against Detroit.
No. Yeah. That's the opening day as far as training camp, and the guys get together, start working on things once again. And NBA preseason starts. Of course, you type in when does NBA preseason start, and it gives me the NBA regular season. Google, come on, man.
Even a regular. I think the schedule starts with the preseason games.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you've seen that they've combined them together. Okay, so NBA preseason officially starts on Friday, September 30th. Wow.
So last day, yeah. September 30th is only a week away.
Damn. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a Friday. So it's next Friday.
Okay. Wow, the stuff is coming
And you
fast.
said training
furious,
camp
man.
starts the 24th?
The 24th. Geez, 1
Which is
week?
this is Saturday. So we're right here. We're right here.
Damn. Well, I mean, the first game is going to be the Warriors. September 30th is the Warriors versus the Wizards. So I don't expect that game to look good at all. I don't know. 1 week of training camp? I don't know.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
The Warriors
Basketball's
will be
back,
all right.
folks. Yeah.
They'll be fine.
Basketball is back. That's what matters. So yeah, man, that's pretty cool. So we're right around the corner, and being that we're right around the corner, teams, I guess, around the league have been trying to shore up any last remaining roster spots that they have. The Knicks, in particular, this past week, they started it off with signing Jeffries, who has been a G League staple and recently he was with the Sacramento Kings. Knicks picked him up, and he's a player that is probably going to be a depth piece. If somebody gets hurt, if there's protocols or anything that pop up again or whatever, he'll probably be a piece that can help out in those situations. But most likely, he's going to be a G League type guy. Do you know anything about him, John?
Not much. I mean, he spent most of his career so far in the G League, and he's been. How many teams he's been on? Just the one or
three different ones.
Okay, yeah. So he's sort of a journeyman guy. You know what I mean? Guy who's been around the league for a couple of years. Hasn't really gotten to the next phase of his career or hasn't been able to break through. So I expected him to sort of fill that same void. Sort of a Theo Pinson type player, is going to come in, hopefully give a little bit of energy off the bench, when, the timeouts are called and you get to get excited for your teammates. I don't see him, getting any time on the floor.
I don't see it either, brother. I will tell you one thing. I mean, he if he gets hot, he could shoot the three ball a little bit when he's hot, like when he's flowing. He's explosive as far as his athleticism. The guy dunks a lot of dunking. So
he's an NBA player. I mean, no one's a scrub, right? Like more or less. You can consider him not probably the best player in the NBA, but amongst normal folk. He's a top tier player.
You know what? And let me do this real quick before I continue, because you never know. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys for being here, rocking with us, tuning in as always. Angel Torres in the building. Geraldine Mykailiuk, the first lady of Still Knicks fans, in the building. Killer Cams is here. Illmatic is here. JJ's here. Appreciate y'all. I want to say that because just in case, like I said, I know there's a lot going on today. So I know some people may, pop in, pop out, supporting all the shows. So I just want to give you guys some love right now while you're here. Hopefully you stay to the end of the show, but I'm just saying, just in case. Okay, that's an interesting comment. Shout out to Felicia Cruz. This is your first time being here. Her question is, hi, Mr. Host Guy. Is this a positive channel? Well, it's not a negative channel, if that answers your question. We try to be very positive as much as we can. So hopefully, if you're one of those, let me say it to you like this, and hopefully this is a real person with a real question. If your feeling is that you want to tune into Nick content, but you're tired of going to all these different content creators channels, just saying, or like Nick's Twitter or something and seeing a bunch of yelling and negative stuff, then no, you don't have to worry about that here. We try to be as objective as possible. If something negative is happening around our team, and we're not homers, we're going to call it as it is. We're fans, but we love our team and want them to succeed. But if they ain't playing right or they're not doing something that makes sense, I mean, listen, in life, that's how it is. My boss sees me doing something that I ain't right. He gonna let me know about it. Not saying that we're their bosses. I'm just saying if you see it, you're gonna say it. But we're very positive here. I think you find that if you tune in and stick with us for a little bit, John and I, and even Jose, when he pops in, it's all positive. It's love here.
It's all positive. I do this.
Oh, and look, I was right.
Just for you, right, Felicia.
See? Yeah, thank you, Felicia. See, she said it. Okay, I've seen some negative channels about the Knicks. Yeah, we're not that. Now, like I said, if something crazy happens and we don't like it, we're gonna call Tibbs out or whoever's doing it. We'll let them know about it. But no, we love our teams and want them to succeed.
We're fairly optimistic in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah,
we're hoping for the best.
Some people say I'm too hopeful. I'm like, hey, what do you want me to do? I love my teams, man. I hope for the best.
We're still here. We're still Knicks fans. That's the purpose.
And Felicia, no, thank you. Just hang tight and check it out, the content. Hopefully you like it and decide to come back. We appreciate having you here. But no, we do not want to know the names of the negative channels to stay away from. That's okay. That's all right. Listen, the people who know what they like, they know what channels to avoid. So I don't want to talk about anybody else negatively or disparage their viewership in any way. So it is what it is. But thank you for being here, and shout out to anybody who's tuned in that may not be in the chat and this is your first time watching. Thank you for being here and rocking with us. Right. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers.
Who tells a friend? Who tells another friend? So on.
That's right. Exactly. Keep telling friends, man. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers, and if Felicia commented, then that means you probably are one of our newest subscribers. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Let's go. All right. So that being said, so the Knicks picked up Daquan Jeffries, as John and I kind of already spoke to. He's more of a G League type player. I mean, if he makes the squad, it'll be surprising. But I wouldn't mind it because most likely he'll be the 14th or 15th guy. So, he doesn't directly impact the roster. So, if he's on the bench, he's on the bench. It is what it is. But the way they're moving, because we're going to talk about the other two acquisitions they made, you only have 2 spots left. So most likely Mr. Jeffries is going to go to the G League and, maybe he'll come up at some point throughout the season. We'll see. The Knicks also, correct. The Knicks also picked up, once again, I guess you could call it re-signing him, even though it's a new contract, Ryan Arcidiacono. He is back, folks. That's right. The point guard with the hard last name. He is back. And, I think Tibbs really likes, the fact that he has a certain style of play and just fits a certain type of guard that he likes, even though he doesn't play him that much. But I guess he feels like he's someone who would be good to fill out the roster.
Yeah, it's one of those. How do you feel about Ryan? It's one of those practice roster spots, there's always a guy who can help coach with your, within your team, somebody who knows the plays, who can talk scheme and really get to what they're trying to provide in practice. You know what I mean? Without actually going over it over and over again. He understands the system. So it's almost like a common fit, someone who is sort of a player coach type guy. I think that's what he is, especially because they're bringing him back. And last year was his first time with the New York Knicks. So bringing him back, it just makes sense to have a guy like that who would probably catch the last roster spot on this team. One of those guys.
Gotcha.
They may have to sign him for like 10-day contracts here and there throughout the season. Yeah.
I agree with you on that. Yeah. And it doesn't hurt because, like I said, he if anything, he was a model citizen last year. He was just smiling on the bench. He was a cheerleader. He was happy to be here. And when he got his opportunity to go out there, it's one of those, you can see a difference in a player who's on the bench and understands their role compared to a different player. Just look at them when they get into the game for the first time or a couple of times and see how, they hit a 3 and they're smiling from ear to ear and the rest of the bench is cheering them on. That's a guy who knows his role and is happy to be here.
This reminds me of that kid that we brought in a few years back. Oh man, I forget the kid's name. He had long hair, and everybody wanted to see him play. And he played like sort of the point guard position, but he was really a two. He played good.
Ron Baker?
Ron Baker. Yeah, exactly. It reminds me. But Ron Baker thought he was a starter in the NBA. Like
yeah, but that's because of how bad our teams were, bro. We had to throw everybody out there. So
that was so wild, man.
Yo, the crazy thing is Ron Baker played so well on such a bad team that everybody was like, yo, we got one with Ron Baker.
We got to play one.
Yeah.
We may have to play him at point guard.
That's how it was, man. The Knicks were a tough team to watch back then. But, they were fun because they were young guys, but it was just the talent. Like we didn't have a lot of
talent.
NBA talent. Yeah,
it was not. We had the G League squad. Because we had, was it Burks at the time? Was Burks sort of starting or Trier? It was one of the two. It may have been in the combination of the
starting. Two. Maybe Burks and Trier were starting. Who knows? I know Trier was starting. Yeah. Trier actually could have had a nice little spell with the Knicks. He played. His attitude got him up out of here.
Unfortunately, kid was a black hole, man. He didn't know a shot not to take, right?
Yeah, I know.
He shot everything.
It's a shame, man. I kind of like Trier too. It's a shame. It is what it is. But yeah. So and guys, just giving you guys a quick update because the show just started. And as I said, we were at 1186. We're at 1189. We picked up 3, baby. We're 11 away from 2,000. So we're getting there. We're getting there, folks. Let's go. Hey, dance party.
Oh.
Fist pump. Oh, sorry. I was on my Jersey Shore, man. Don't get me started, bro. When I get going, I'm all over the place. And thank you, Felicia, for subscribing. We appreciate you giving us a try.
That.
Thank you. Shout out to my guy Kareem Grant in the building. What up, twin? Building Blocks is in the building as well. Thank you guys for being here and rocking with us.
Yeah, we're just gonna have a really good time today. Season's about to start. It's closer than we thought. It's gonna be good.
It is. I'm so shocked, man. I knew it was close, and I was like, 2 weeks away. But
you know what it is?
How many weeks?
All of our other teams are doing so good that we're not like longing for.
I ain't even stressing it, you know what I mean?
Right. It's like we got football Monday night going against the Cowboys. We got the Yankees going up against Tampa. Who are the Mets up against soon? I think they got something going on, right? Don't they got Milwaukee soon? Now. I think they got Milwaukee coming up because.
Wait, didn't the Yankees just have Milwaukee?
Yeah, we just lost 2 out of 3. And I think they're going to see to the Mets. So
interesting.
It's gonna be, but either way, we're playing. Every team of ours is playing solid for the mere fact that this is a good time in the New York market for sports.
You are right, John. You are all over it. The Mets are playing Milwaukee tonight. Actually, it started already. The Mets are up 5-0. Let's go!
Look at you guys.
I'm sorry. And it's the 7th inning, so there's a good chance the Mets might win this one. All right, good to know.
Nice.
I think the Yankees are off today, right?
They're off today, and they start a road trip, I think. Oh no, they're continuing a road trip.
Gotcha. All right.
I don't know.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I mean, that makes sense. They could be. I don't know. I'm not sure.
They were in Milwaukee, so they could probably going back home.
Yeah, maybe. Well, all right. So we already covered the first 2 acquisitions the Knicks made this past week. There was one more that they just made. And probably if there was a guy out of these 3 that might get a chance to play on the big roster at some point here and there, and definitely if we have any injuries, that would be Mr. Svi Mykailiuk. Okay, now here's the thing: Svi Mykailiuk is not someone who's really good on defense. Now, granted, I'm gonna give him a lot of credit. He had that one shining moment. You guys remember back in the day? Was it NBC Sports or ABC Sports that would always play the one shining moment? And they'd play that music, one shining moment. All right, anyway, I'm old. I remember this stuff. So So he had that one shining moment last year when Mitchell Robinson went up for a two-handed dunk, and Svi caught him at the rim and blocked the shot. And Toronto were going crazy. They were going wild. But anyway, that was his moment on defense. But really what he's known for is, and shout out to Diehard Eru, because I know he was talking about him yesterday.
DieHardknicks, that is, Eru. Collecting splinters.
Well, no, I mean, listen, he plays a little bit, and his moments where he's actually a starter, especially in Europe, he'll drop 40, he'll drop 30. Like he can score. He can get buckets. That's what he can do. Because the thing about him is he'll dunk on you. Yeah. You remember old Fournier? You remember old Fournier from the Denver days? Yeah, from the Denver days.
Yeah, he's
young. Oh, I mean, okay, young Fournier.
Yeah, didn't get much playing time, but yeah, I remember.
No, but young Fournier would dunk on you. So Mykailiuk. Yeah, Mykailiuk is a dunker. He'll dunk on you.
It's not like dunking like John Morant dunking. It's like
it's like I mean, how many of those are you gonna find?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's average NBA dunking, which is the majority,
right? But he's got hops. The only problem the one thing that he doesn't have is a wingspan.
He's got hops like Hazonia. He's got hops.
Let me tell Hazonia's got a 40-inch vert.
But
Hazonia's got a 40-inch vert.
But it's
I think it's are you downplaying? Oh no, there it is. There you just said it. That's it. Now a 40-inch vert is normal. It probably is.
Normal NBA. Like you I mean, at that height, you should be dunking the ball.
Back in the 90s, 40-inch verts were not normal. I mean, they some guys had them, but not everybody did.
He's 6'6". I mean,
well, he's
not like he's Fournier?
6'8". Oh
Fournier?
No, Mykailiuk.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
So Fournier
Fournier don't have no 40-inch vert. He's
that's what I'm saying.
Those days are done.
Fournier at 6'6" should have been dunking. Not saying he was jumping off the roof. Should have been dunking. And this kid is 6'8". He should be dunking. I mean, like.
Yeah, but he's getting up a little bit. The problem with him is he has a 6'5" wingspan. So he got the Eru said he got the alligator arms.
Yeah, I'm not sold on anybody who isn't doing it consistently in the NBA and expecting to get minutes. I don't expect this kid to get.
I don't think you got to worry about him getting minutes. He is a filler piece for the bench. So he's not somebody you got to worry about taking minutes from anybody else. And he's a rotational piece. He's a journeyman. So the good thing about him is I get to use him in 2K because in 2K he's a monster. I'm just saying, guys, he's a monster in 2K.
They rated him too high. They rated him up too high.
Listen, any guy that can shoot the three and can dunk in 2K, forget about it. So
he probably will shoot one. He'll probably have one shot from the 3-point range this entire season. He may hit it, and so that makes his rating go a lot higher in 2K.
Well, you know what? Why don't we take a look at his numbers and see? Now, don't get me wrong. He's not the greatest 3-point shooter. He's a guy who can score the basketball. Doesn't necessarily mean he's a great 3-point shooter. Let's see what we got for him. Let me see. Can we get that slide of Mr. Mykailiuk's fees number? There we go. So, as you can see, 2008-2019 season, he was with the Lakers. 39 games. He averaged about 10 minutes, but he didn't really do much. It was like a cup of coffee, He shot 31% from three. It is what it was. I mean, and then he somehow wound up in Detroit. So that experiment didn't last long. He was with Detroit for what, 2.5 seasons, basically.
If there was a team that he would have been able to break, it would have been Detroit because they weren't that good.
You would think. You're not lying about that. Especially during that time.
He was in a good situation at the time, right?
Yep. And even there, he started 27 games one season, And then, the next season, 6 games. So he didn't really have a chance to get meaningful minutes, even though, he played 17 minutes in 36 games. That's what he averaged in the 2020-21 season. And he averaged a little under 7 points. So it's interesting that his best season was 2020-21 with OKC. He only started 9 times, but he averaged 23 minutes and he was scoring 10 points per game. You wouldn't expect a lot of rebounds because of the, once again, the alligator arms, small arms, wingspan. It's harder to, get rebounds above other athletic guys or taller guys. So, but yeah, he's definitely a role player, journeyman with a little flash to him. Hazonia reference that you made up is not far-fetched.
It's not.
I like it. No,
yeah,
I like that.
I think Hazonia probably had more upside coming into the league. He was highly touted, in Europe. And he was seasoned coming out of Europe. So coming into the league, you expected more from Hazonia. This kid, not so much. I mean, he played what they showed him. It was his set. He played a little bit. He played in his college career was in Kansas. Was that correct?
Yep. College was Kansas. Correct.
Yeah. So, probably a second-round pick. I don't recall
he was
that name being
second
called.
Round pick, number 47 by the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much. I mean, he's better than an average player. He's probably if he was playing in the G League, he would have a bigger role because he's highly skilled. But in today's NBA game, he doesn't really. You don't expect him to break through a roster. Right, he's not a guy who you're gonna see like. You remember back in the day, what was the kid name from the Orlando Magics who came from the G Leagues and then starting point guard Armstrong? Remember the kid Armstrong?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what was his first name. I can't remember.
Well,
I don't know but yeah,
there is far and few of those guys who come out of the G League who aren't been really highly touted basketball players and stars in their own rights coming in and just working from being a red shirt into getting a bench role and then a starting nod. You don't really get that. So
who's the kid? What's his name? Ish something?
Ish Smith?
Ish Smith. I thought it was Ish Smith, but isn't Ish Smith a football player? I don't know.
He's a basketball player.
Oh, it is Ish Smith. Yeah, Ish Smith was a G League guy who fared well in the G League and then wound up turning into him getting on an NBA team. He hasn't really, it hasn't blossomed, but he's been a good, serviceable NBA player.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah,
but there are far and few. There are far and few.
Right. It's tough. It's really tough to break into the league, in that capacity. And the guys who do, man, they deserve big props, mad kudos for working really hard and getting there and then hopefully trying to stay there. Shout out to D's World of Hoops. What's going on? I see you in the chat. Appreciate you, man. Good to see you. Also, shout out to Danny Landis in the building. What's good, Danny? Thank you guys for tuning in. So, and the new Knicks, the Organic Knick Podcast is in the building as well. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Illmatic is here. I think I said Illmatic before, but if I didn't, shout out to Illmatic. So that's the 3 new acquisitions the Knicks did, and most likely that has rounded out the roster. I would think that Deuce
did Ferron
McBride
make the team?
He did, but he's on a 2-way. So being that he's on a 2-way, he's going to the G League. Because it's a 50-50 split, right? So so Ferron Hunt is on a 2-way contract, so he's going to the G League at some point, probably to start off because the G League season is shorter than the NBA season, so they usually like to send them there first. So I don't know what will happen later. So obviously guys like Ryan Arcidiacono and Svi Mykailiuk, if they're not doing anything and nothing's popping for them, when guys like Ferron Hunt and also Trevor Keels, who's on a 2-way as well, when they come back from the G League, the decision has to be made because the Knicks either can keep them and bring them to the regular roster, or they have to cut them. And at that point, I guess that's when they'll make another decision as to who is more worthy of having an NBA roster spot once the G League is over.
Right.
So yeah.
Plus, everyone's under contract at that point, right? So you want to be able to, if you had a player in the G League who is someone who you expect to sort of continue to build with in the future or get an opportunity to develop, you want that person under contract for the remainder of the season. You know, that's usually how it works.
Yep. Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that's what it is. That's what you can expect. And so if you're thinking about how the roster is going to shake out, yeah, it's probably going to start that way. Farron Hunt's going to go to the G League. Trevor Keels is going to go to the G League. I would assume
even see Deuce also going from time to time.
That is the thing. Now, even though Deuce doesn't have, now he has a regular contract, he's not on a two-way, the Knicks can still send him to the G League to get some seasoning and kind of work on his game. However, I don't know how that works because with a two-way contract, you can just bring guys back and forth. When you have a regular contract, I think there's some type of time period that the person has to stay down in the G League for before you can bring them
probably
back.
Right.
But for Deuce, I don't know if it's going to matter much, man, because Deuce really does seem like the odd man out because there's so many other players on this team that need minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's got to be some injuries and some player movement that happens before Deuce gets an opportunity. So,
right,
you can expect them to be
because there's
out
so
there.
many guards.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Speaking of the roster, why don't we take a look at what the new look roster looks like for now? I mean, we don't know if it's the final roster, but it looks like it's the roster. This is the amount of players we got going on. And you guys can see it in full. It's a little cut off for us because we're looking at something else. But I can tell you that this is the full class of guys that it looks like the roster will be. And I wonder if this is even 15 or if it's more than 15. Can't really count it. 1, 2,
might be more than 15.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, it's more. Because I think the training camp roster,
they're larger.
And I think you're allowed to, I think you might be able to have somewhere between 18 and 20 guys starting training camp. And by preseason, you got to chop it down to 15.
Okay.
I'll verify that, but that's what I remembered from last season. So I'll check that out before, as we get closer, get into the preseason. We're going to be talking more and more about what it looks like. But so looking at this roster,
going to get burned. They'll get burned like the last game of preseason. You know what I mean? Just to see if they earn a roster spot with the G League.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's the thing. You don't know what's going to happen, especially with a coach like Tom Thibodeau. I mean, right now, we've heard two things that got us scratching our heads. Now, don't get us wrong. As fans of these guys, we want to see them play and want to witness them have an opportunity to get more minutes. But so the only thing that we know that has come out recently is that apparently, well, no, it's three things actually. Earlier, about a couple months ago, it was reported by Mark Berman from the New York Post, that Tom Thibodeau wants to get Obi Toppin more minutes. Okay, so that was number one. Right. Then recently, with all of the transactions that didn't happen, or should I say the transaction that didn't happen and the speculation and how the Knicks organization from top to bottom feels about Quentin Grimes, now it's been said that Quentin Grimes looks to be an integral piece of this Knicks lineup, and they're going to try to find as many minutes as possible for him, right? And as recently as last week, early in the week, I believe, it was reported by Ian Begley that the Knicks are trying to get Immanuel Quickley an expanded role. I don't know, John. I mean, we talked about this before. I don't know.
It seems like the media got their favorites, and they're sort of putting it out in the atmosphere who they feel should, be getting, who should be vying for those minutes. right? I think that's sort of their look at it, their perspective on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any of it to be true. What I'm going to look out for, though, is in those preseason games, sort of what are the matchups, how who's coming off the bench, who's starting, how many minutes, and what role are they playing off the, if they're coming off the bench. I'm looking closely at that. Like, who's the first person Tibbs is calling off his bench? Is it going to be Quick? Is it going to be Grimes? Is Grimes going to start with this unit? Because I don't necessarily think he will with Fournier there. With Fournier there, I expect Fournier to play. So we'll see. We'll see.
So, being that you brought that up, whatever metric you use to judge it, what makes you feel comfortable. Don't think like from an analytical or a coach standpoint of what makes the most sense for the team. What would you like to be your Knicks starting lineup?
Oh, I think we talked about this. I would love for them to move away from Fournier altogether. But seeing that that's not going to happen, right? But if that was the case, in my perspective, if I was running the team, I'm finding suitors for Fournier, and I'm making room. Whether I'm sending Fournier and Quick somewhere else, and I'm making room for Cam and Grimes. That would be my ultimate decision.
So
vice
but
versa.
who would you start though out of Cam or Grimes?
I personally would start Cam and Barrett together.
So you'd put Cam at the 3 and Barrett back at the 2?
Yeah. I like the length. I like the fit.
So Jalen's obviously the point guard starting.
Right. Off the bench.
Then who's your 4 and 5?
But then you have Randall and you have Mitch, and then Obi's off the bench. So is Hartenstein. Okay. So is Grimes. So is Rose. And whomever else we have.
Okay. All right. Because oddly enough, if I was to pick a starting lineup right now, it would be Jalen, RJ, Cam, Randall, and Mitch. That's what and I know some people.
I would have thought you would be wanting Grimes to start.
I like the fact. See, the thing is, I'm okay with mixing things up. I like a funky style of basketball, so it doesn't matter to me. I actually could see Grimes starting at the 2. I wouldn't even mind having Quickly start at the 2 because I feel like Quickly can be a starting shooting guard in this league. If that's all he has to focus on, I think he could give them that role. He plays pretty good defense, and we know that he can get hot. And if he keeps working on whatever he's doing this offseason, more consistency, he could be really good at that position. So I wouldn't mind it either way. But I really like having RJ go back to the 2 and having Cam be the 3 and giving him a chance to really ball out and see what he's got. So to me, that would be fun. Now, I know as far as spacing goes, that's the problem. And I think that's one of the biggest things that this Knicks team is going to run into. I don't necessarily see that
to be a problem, though, to be honest. Like, people, I don't think you go by numbers. Number doesn't tell the whole story, right? Like, numbers are what they are, right? You have the guys who do analytics for a reason, right? They have jobs for a reason because the analytics, the numbers, so-called, don't lie. But then I come from the food of thought, like the Gene Michaels food of thought, where you have the eye test. You look at guys, you see what they can bring, their versatility. You look at their shot, you see how fluid does it look when they're on the court, when they're getting, good enough minutes to really showcase their skill set. And I think that's what I look at. I look at those intangibles that you can't just put a number on. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing for me. Uh-oh. Did we lose Ron? I think we lost Ron for a little bit. He'll come right back on in. There you go. We lost you for a sec, Ron.
I don't know what the hell happened there. Sorry. I think the mouse was all over something. I accidentally hit it. Whatever. I'm back.
You hit the internet vortex.
Yeah. I got lost in the sauce for a second there, but I'm back, folks. All right, so continue. My fault, John.
No. What I was saying is that I take it a little step further. I'm more of an eye test person. I like to look at those intangibles and then rate a player from what I see on the court. With viable minutes, when you're starting to get like 20 plus minutes, you can really see what someone is capable of doing. And so that's really how I look at it. Some people don't agree with me, but that's okay.
Well, no, I think so. I don't think you're wrong in that, because I think that the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau can figure out a way to make things work. Yes, it requires you starting guys at certain spots on the floor, and then you can rotate them and move them around, have them do back cuts or whatever, but you have to extend them in order to get the lanes for people to use. But I think that can be done. The only thing that I really do worry about, the more and more I think about it, is Julius Randle and RJ both liking to play bully ball and drive into the lane, and both being lefties going in, from the left-hand side or whatever, the right-hand side, however they do it, that lefties like. I do worry about that a little bit, and I think that might be a reason why sometimes they struggle together. Although I think they could play together, but I think it's because they are very similar. Both of them are very similar in how they play basketball, and they're both lefties, and they both are not the greatest of shooters. So, when that happens, you find them kind of forcing themselves into the paint area, and that could be a little bit of a clog or a log jam for them each, against being on the same floor at the same time. So that part is the only thing that I'm a little concerned about, and that's why I kind of say, like, going forward, they have to figure out a better way to, do something with the offense. It can't just be pick and rolls and stuff. It has to be some other stuff, back cuts, screens. They got to be a little bit more creative with the plays they're running, And I think that's something that the Knicks are going to really need. This is why this is a good year, because there's no expectations this year. This is a good year to work on new systems.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you. I mean, the one outlier is, how do they plan to utilize Randle this season? Do they expect him to run the offense from within the perimeter, or are they going to utilize his strengths, run him off a pick and roll, and play him sort of as a second or third option off the block? Because if they do that, then they have a different sort of player, right? That no one's really prepared for. If you look at Randle when he came in with the Lakers, he was not a perimeter player, to start out his career. And so if you put him back to where he's really strong at, and then he can sort of pull guys out from within the post, right, face up, and use his jab step moves and use all of the things that he's just acquired in his tool belt to get past and be really strong offensively, I think you give him an opportunity to succeed. Now if you're expecting him to play sort of the first option role and play off of him as the willing passer, then you're sort of going back to old habits, and you're going to sort of force his hand, which will cause turnovers, and I think right now you got a guy in Jalen Brunson who could take on that role. So you want to be able to put Randle in the best position possible to dominate the opposing player. You know what I mean? And what better way than to put him in the block and be a second, third option, in the post or in pick and roll action,
Yeah. I think we're going to see something a little different from Julius this year.
I hope
because
so.
He is he's working on some different things. He's working on this new floater thing. I talked about it the other day, but he's working on this new floater thing. So I mean, I know that in the end, it's smart for the Knicks to really build Julius up and trade him so that we can get some value for him, and it allows Obi to be able to play that power forward spot and go from there. But it stinks, because I have a feeling that Julius is going to have a good year. So it's like,
or vice versa, or vice versa. Give Obi enough minutes that where he can claim his opportunity to vie for a different team, right? To be an option for another team. Because the reality is you can't grow with both of them on your team. One isn't going to be willing to take the back seat, right? So if Randall is who we got and we want to stick with Randall, we hope that he has an all-star type caliber season. So then we know that moving forward, he is this 20, 10, and 5 guy who can limit the amount of turnovers that he does, now that we have a point guard. And then at that point, we can move on from Obi Toppin, right? Or Randall builds his value so much that, it's like a no-brainer. We have to move him because Obi is progressing in the way that we want him to progress, and that he is now becoming our future power forward. So you have to play it out, though, during the season to really, see what's available to us. Or it could all blow up in our face, right? And Randall has a horrific season, and then he's not tradable, and so on and so forth. And none of us want to hear that story, but that could also be true, right?
Yeah, there's so many different things that can happen, and you just hope for the best, right? In the end, I just want the Knicks to get better, and I want these young guys to get a really good, solid year of NBA basketball under their belt. So going forward, no matter who we bring in to help the team, if we bring in better talent, doesn't matter. That better talent is to help fill out what we already got going on, because these guys can play and they know what to do. We got to get these guys, to be better out there. Shout out to Killer Cams. He said, I also wonder if Rose takes a seat and helps mold IQ running point off the bench and have Grimes play the 2. That's interesting, too. Nice. That's very interesting, too.
Yeah. I would love to see Rose take a back seat and become a player coach. You know what I mean? I think he's earned his right to have a place in the NBA. I don't necessarily know if he still has the wheels coming off of injuries, multiple injuries. But we know he's a Tibbs guy. So Tibbs is going to give him every opportunity to, keep his spot off the bench as a 6th man off the bench. And that's sort of what we have to wait and see how those turnover events happen. Because if you look at last season, you would expect the bench role. Now that Fournier is going to be a starter, of course, that's not going to change. Mm-hmm. We can expect that the first folks off the bench are going to be Rose and Quick, right? Due to history. And then you got Obi coming off with Hartenstein. Whoever that 5th player off the bench, who knows who that would be. And that would be spot minutes. You may have Grimes and Cam. And it looks like Grimes has got the lead over Cam just because of how much he played last season. So you could assume that that's going to be the roles that they're going to play. So that means Cam is going to be playing on the side small forward at 6. I mean, not Cam, Grimes at 6'4", and then you got guards at 6'2", both Rose and IQ. So,
shout out to Krillian's Underlow in the chat. See you. Good to see you here. Appreciate you as always. Felicia Cruz actually had a question. She actually had 2 questions, but the question she asked initially was, do you guys think Julius can lead us to a championship potentially? What do you think about that, John?
I think you need the right pieces around Randall in order to even contend for a playoff run. I'm not even going to talk championship, because for me, we're far removed from a championship opportunity. You know what I mean? Like chances of obtaining a championship, that I don't even see it in front of us. And I'll be lying to you if I felt like Randall is that guy, is that piece. But I do feel that he could be a piece in the puzzle if he plays well, if he continues to put team first in front of his own accolades. I think he could be a piece of the puzzle. Again, he's the elder statesman, right? Outside of Rose, it's Randall, right? Randall's 27 now. So, he's starting to come into his...
I think he might be 28 now, actually.
He might be. I mean, he should be coming into his prime years in the NBA, and so he doesn't have elite level type of game, right? He doesn't have a level where he reached another height. He has like he can be a perennial all-star if he puts his mind to it and everything's working around him, because he's a 20-10 guy. I mean, look at his stats; they speak for himself. But are they empty or are they full stats? You got to look at it like that. Do they amount to wins or do they amount to losses? So those are things that you need to take into consideration. Jalen Brunson and Randall, I think, like you speak to this, Ron, a lot, where you feel like Jalen Brunson is going to make both Randall's game and RJ play much better. It's going to be a little bit more fluid. I hope to see that to be true. I think it may be true as well, but I know, we have to. We'll have to see.
I know you're a wait and see guy. I know.
I'm a wait and see guy, at least for right now. I mean, Brunson did it with a completely different team, right? And so I don't, what he did with the Mavericks is, there's no indication that will also turn out the same way for the Knicks, because they're different players in the puzzle. So I want to see it. I want to see it in action. I want to see sort of what the schemes look like. How often is Jalen Brunson with the ball in his hands sort of creating or being that person facilitating the offense, or will he be taking a backseat and hitting a corner for RJ to run the offense versus Jalen? You know what I mean? So all those things you need to see play out. Right. It's all depending on the schema that Coach Tibbs and his coaching staff come up with. I'm trying to be positive, but also waiting to see what this really looks like, before I start making judgments.
Right. And I'm with you. And that's the good thing. That's the beauty about going into a brand new NBA season. As much as on paper you see there's a lot of really good teams in the NBA in general, but definitely in the Eastern Conference. And, there's also teams that made moves and got better through the draft or even free agency. Still got to play the games. You still got to play the games because there's so many different things that can take place. Injuries, chemistry issues, being able, rotation. How do you play this? And the other thing is, the Knicks come into this year once again having one of the best teams top to bottom in the league. Like as far as a starting group and a bench group, and then even a couple pieces outside of the bench group. Like having players overall, they've got a good amount of guys that they can throw in there. Now, these are not all star players that don't have that type of qualities, but they're players that can play good basketball. We noticed that last season when the Knicks came out the gate with Kemba Walker, Fournier, RJ, Randall, and Mitch, that team played okay, but for the first month or so of the season, the second unit, the bench mob, was doing work. And they were better than a lot of other teams' bench mob. At one point, I think they were the best bench unit in the NBA. So I think the Knicks will be in contention for that once again this year. Maybe not the best, but they'll be top 10. Their bench is good enough that when the other teams that have those, like the Chicago Bulls, for example, that their starting unit is awesome, but when they get to the bench, it could get a little hairy. That's when the Knicks might be able to really kind of cut into leads or make a way so that they can take a lead, and so the starters have to kind of try to get back into it and maintain it. So the bench might be really important for this New York Knicks team.
I'm gonna push back and say I'm not sold on it.
Really?
Push back. Yeah, just because it's a new season. Your last season, I think a lot of our players caught teams by surprise with sort of the style of play that they ran, and I think also Derrick Rose was a big impact to that bench. You know what I mean?
But we will have Derrick Rose back.
No, I get that, but now they sort of know what they run, right? Like how the guys play around Rose, and sort of that first 2-3 months is a filling out period where guys they're surprised by OB speed and Quickly's gun. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You get a chance to sort of scout and see defensively how to approach that bench team. And so I'm still sort of hesitant to say we got an elite bench. I want to see how it plays out against other benches because, again, there's not like a full-on five that just gets replaced. You'll have one or two starters that stay with the bench players, right? Especially with most teams, right? Most championship caliber teams like Miami, you have, your Bucks, and you got even like Chicago. They're not gonna leave that, like they'll play DeRozan or Zach, and then they'll fill in the rest. You know what I mean? And so they always have a number one guy with the bench unit, where the Knicks don't necessarily have that. Like if we leave a number one guy, we're leaving Randall or an RJ. You get what I'm saying? To live with that bench team. And so does that match? Is that going to mesh? Is that going to work? We don't have Nerlens Noel on the defensive side. How good is a Hartenstein, right? That's something we don't know yet. Like we know what he could bring with the Clippers, but we don't know what that looks like within this bench role. How many minutes is he going to play? What is the role he's going to play on this bench team? So there's a lot of unknowns, in my opinion.
I think you make a really good point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise your point, and I'm going to counter with what I will say is I agree with you, but what I do think the Knicks will do with that second unit that they won't be doing with the first unit is running. I think when Quickly gets out there, or if Rose is here healthy, Obi's going to be running. I think Cam is going to be running as well.
If he plays.
If he plays. And I think Grimes has no problem running with them either, because we saw them in the summer league. That's the unit they were doing. It was Quickly, Obi, and Grimes. They were running, not this past summer league, the one before that. So they can do that style. And really, Grimes has to replace Burks in that role. Or it's going to be split between him and Cam. One of them guys, they're making up for that.
He has to be him, right? Like, and that's the thing.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be Burks, but I'm saying that's the minutes.
But the numbers that Burks put up, I don't necessarily want to put that on a player like a Grimes, right? Like that's a hard thing to match up to, because Burks is a veteran who understood how to play his game within the role of that bench, right? And so it's very difficult to ask a young player to come in and fill that void, because first and foremost, he hasn't proven that he could shoot it at a high clip yet, right? Not to mention he's not a great free throw shooter as of yet. He has a great looking touch, but he hasn't proven to be an NBA elite scorer, where Burks has had the history of coming off and being like a top 6 man off the bench. You know what I mean? Right. And so there's something to be said that, and I think we're being optimistic in saying that Grimes is the piece, but like he hasn't proven it yet. And so we got to see what it looks like. I'm glad that he's taking the steps to sort of work on his game. He looks like he's working on his handle, on his strengthening and conditioning. I think all of it's going to play a part, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out in action. Again, they're going to be undersized, because if they're going with Quick at 6'2", Rose at 6'2", and a Grimes at a 6'4", you're an undersized team. So if you're running, you're going to have to be really aggressive on the offensive side, because on the defensive side, there's going to be matchup problems everywhere.
Right. But the good thing is you'll have a true small forward in there if Cam is in that unit at the 3, right?
Yeah,
because he's 6'8".
Who's losing? Who's losing minutes?
Is he 6'8"? I think he's 6'8".
He's 6'8", but you're losing. Who's losing minutes? It's not going to be Obi. It's not going to be Grimes.
But Obi's not going to play the 3 anyway.
He's going to play the 4.
Because if we're spelling RJ, it's going to have to be Cam, because he's playing the 3. So who else is going to play the 3?
Grimes and Quick.
Quick can't play the 3.
He's going to play the 2, and then you got Grimes playing the 3, and then you got Rose. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's real small.
That's what I'm saying. Those are Tibbs guys, right? If you look at the roster from the year before, because we're counting that Fournier is going to be on this roster, he's going to start. That automatically puts you at a disadvantage defensively when you're bringing guys off your bench. And that's what I say. Even if you keep RJ on the court with some of these guys, you still, you know what I mean?
And you know what? I see your point. And unfortunately, once again, this happened again. That's why I like when stuff like this happen, because it's real life, and it's just honestly is what it is. When you were saying that, I didn't quite understand what you were getting at, but then you said it. Well, you got Rose at the damn it, Rose. Right. The Knicks got one too many people at that position. Right. There's just one extra guy that shouldn't be here because it makes it difficult.
It's the both guard positions, right? They're filled. There's a and what's good about it, and this is what I'll say, what's good about it is that you have depth for a full season. And I get that. Right. But if you're not,
that part is good, yes.
That part is good, because now if somebody gets injured like a Rose, who has history of getting injured, so does Cam, and you could even admit to saying Grimes, now that he's gotten another injury, you could commit to saying those guys are not as durable, right? And so you can extend over a period of an 82 season, year. With that said, if I'm Coach Tibbs or if I'm within the coaching staff, I'm speaking about what gives us our best opportunity to win, not who I'm favorable to. What gives us our best opportunity to win? And if you think about it that way, then you may make some moves regardless of someone's salary, right? You may make a move to say, Fournier, I'm going to use you off the bench, and my best opportunity to win is either starting Grimes or Cam, right? You're taking away the whole idea of a salary. Now you're keeping good shooting because you're having a shooter come off the bench who can play as a number one option because he does it in France, right? He does it with this French team, right? He is the number one guy offensively. So why not play him in that role coming off the bench? Why will it hurt you, right? You could play him alongside Cam, and you'll have a formidable offensive threat off the bench with Obi, Cam, and Fournier if you decide to start Grimes and, alongside Barrett, right? But they have to think that way. And I don't necessarily believe that they're thinking that way.
Right.
That's all.
I mean, listen, you're not wrong in that. I can't disagree with you. That's very true. Don't know what the hell they're thinking. And hopefully they come into this year with a better outlook on this rotation in the roster and how hopefully Tibbs looks at it a little differently, because Tibbs did some wild stuff last year as far as saying that Alec Burks is his best option at the point guard slot. That's some wild stuff. So yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. Shout out
a season that wasn't lost, by the way. Like
right, when he decided to do that, we still
had an opportunity to have a play-in run. It's like, come on,
it's true. Son. That's true. You ain't lying. I don't know, bro. Shout out to Killer Camps. He said, "Do you guys think the signing of Svi is a publicity stunt to get more eyes on the Knicks with the whole situation happening with the Ukraine?" Absolutely not. I can say that I don't think that has anything to do with anything that's happening politically with the Ukraine or anything else that's going on in that climate. What I will say is, go ahead, John.
No, I mean, if you see a full night dedicated to the war in Ukraine, then there may be something there.
Then that's
if they identify it, you know what I mean? But if they don't do that throughout the season, then I think it's just a roster spot they needed to fill.
Yeah, because I don't think that that's the type of move, because this organization, the front office, has done some stuff that's questionable, and then there's some other things that we like that they've done, and they've shown some integrity, not allowing themselves to get fleeced in the Donovan trade and all this stuff. I just don't think a front office like that would do something in this fashion. I think they would do things for basketball reasons. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to do something like that, then you would bring in a young rookie and sign him. The first Filipino basketball player ever in the NBA. You'd put him on your team. You know what I mean? Right. You guys know I'm talking about Kai Sato, just in case you were wondering. Like that would be a move that you'd say, okay, now this is funky.
Maybe politically driven, right?
Yeah. But I think that they brought in Svi because he is a player that can play basketball. And if you want to say maybe they had a little bit of an ulterior motive, maybe if they know that Fournier is going to be here on this team for, a while, they brought in Svi, another European player, and maybe that will make the connection a little bit more comfortable for Fournier going forward. Maybe it's something of that nature. Who knows?
Yeah, I just think they needed to fill the roster spot, and they felt like he was the right fit. And I'm going to assume that for now.
I think they wanted somebody who could score a couple buckets here and there that was not named Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
I think that was the key because Carmelo would fit perfectly in that spot. However, we know that we're not sure if Carmelo is ready for that role. Yeah, I don't know if he's ready for that role. It's not the right team.
It's not the right team for him to make sort of a bow out of like a retirement sort of, I don't think this is the right team for that. Had we had Donovan Mitchell, maybe.
Right. I was thinking the same thing, honestly. I was thinking the same thing.
Not anymore.
Yeah. I agree with you, bro. So we're about to get out of here, but I wanted to say once again, shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see a couple new faces. Eric Wallace in the building. Quality Jumper was good, man. Good to see you. Let's see. Travel Vibes is in the building, in the chat. Thank you for being here, Travel Vibes. Appreciate you. Nick Yak is in the building. Good to see you again. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in and rocking with us. There's definitely going to be more and more and more and more stuff to come because we are right around the corner. I really didn't realize that we're basically a week away from training camp and then another week away from preseason basketball. So we're 2 weeks away from preseason basketball, guys. We are right around the corner. Yeah, man.
And at that point, there will be a lot less speculation, right? Like right now, all I could go by is speculation in the years prior. What happened last year and how you think this would all, shape itself out. Like coming into that first preseason game, I'm paying close attention. I'm just watching to see who's in that rotation. Who is Tibbs really, looking at to sort of run this team? Like who's coming? Who's the first guys off the bench? I'm paying attention because I think all of it's going to speak volume. Now, if he turns around and does a 360 and Svi is the first guy off the bench, then by all means, it's a new world. You know what I mean? So I don't see that happening.
I just think there's so many different things that Thibodeau could do with this roster. And this is really, I don't want to feel the way I felt last year about how he ran the rotation. I hope he makes some strides to do things differently. But like I said, I could see Cam starting. I could see RJ move to the 2. I could see Grimes at the 2. I could see Quickly at the 2. That means you have different options. So later on, if I could see these guys as starters, that means you should definitely be able to see them as rotational pieces. They should be able to get minutes somehow. That's all I'm saying. You can't tell me after looking at what you had last year and everything you went through and seeing this current team, if Jalen Brunson, God forbid, if he were to get hurt, or when you're thinking about who's going to come in if Jalen Brunson is out of the game, you got options. You got Derrick Rose. You got Emmanuel Quickly. You can't tell me you don't have people you can use. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to see this craziness again. Last year I got to see Taj Gibson play almost 40 minutes and there was nobody to take his spot, and Jericho Sims was sitting on the bench. I don't want to see that anymore.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
And then on top of that, Nerlens Noel will come out of nowhere from injury, right? He wasn't 100%, but still got an opportunity to play over Jericho Sims, and he couldn't catch the ball to save a lick. You know what I mean? Like, this guy couldn't catch the ball. I mean, he did close to good things defensively. He was a better defensive player than Jericho Sims, but he also is a little bit more of a vet. I mean, he has a lot more years in. So I just don't know, man. I'm not sold that Tibbs is going to change, And I think it goes back to me asking you now, like, do you see Fournier playing as a starter? Do you see him on this roster as a starter?
To start the season, yes.
That's what I'm saying. So
but not going forward. Not going forward.
But if that isn't going to change, and he isn't going to get moved at some point in time, then what are we really doing here? Like, yeah.
Well, listen, I think Rocky said it best in Rocky 4. If I can change, you can change. We can change.
We all can change.
Hey, man, listen. Hope for the best.
Listen, man.
Oh, man. Another great show, guys. And listen, thank you for everyone who's here. Thank you for the new subscribers we picked up tonight. If you guys are still watching and tuned in, thank you for being here, and understand that we appreciate you guys and definitely welcome you as a part of the Still Knicks fans family. And now let me tell you the schedule so you can find us here on Monday nights at 9 p.m. This is the Still Knicks Fans Weekly Show. We're also on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on the NothinButKnicks network. That's with Simeon Russell, the Podfather, and his network, where you see great people such as Steph, the Queen's Court, Tony Crow, Knicks and Bruises, who just hit 1,000 subscribers. So shout out to Tony Crow once again. Appreciate you, brother. Josh, aka UncleFoolio, and his show, The Kontroversy. And you also got International Andy and his show that he has on NothinButKnicks. So, yeah, that's definitely a great network. If you haven't checked them out, Felicia and other people who may be new, check them out as well. They've got tons of subscribers, a really good network over there. And we also come back on Saturdays at 11 a.m. for the Know the Ledge series, which is a little different. It's more of, we still chop it up about different Knicks topics, but, we welcome everybody to jump in. So if you're in the chat and you want to get on the panel, yeah, it's an open panel. You can definitely come up and talk and let your feelings be known. This past Saturday was the first time actually a friend of the show, Mr. Francisco Carrillo, came on the show for the first time, and it was great to see him on the show. It was pretty dope. I know he was nervous, he said, but it turned out well, man. So I welcome everybody to jump on the panel. Saturdays, it's open panel, so you're welcome to come on and watch and be a part of it. So yeah.
And during the regular season, it's just you and I, right? Going through our takes of the season, and we're probably gonna run it again where we we get an opportunity to choose our schedule and see who sort of wins the tally at the end.
Yeah, and I gotta pay up. I still owe John a steak dinner, which I'm gonna have to do
before the season.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it before the season starts. So I got you, man. I got you.
Fun time.
And thank you, Felicia. Appreciate it. She said you guys are nice and respectful hosts. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I appreciate
that. We think you are a nice and respectful viewer. Thank you for being here. So, John, any final words, brother?
As always, looking forward to the upcoming season. So, looking forward to the next one. Stay blessed, all of you out there. Appreciate you all for tuning in, and I'm out of here.
Hey, let's see. I couldn't say it better myself. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in and being with us. Shout out to my man Jose in the background on the ones and twos. Mo fire, rhythm beats. Hey Jose, can you make an appearance? I know you only do it when you have something to say, but can you just say a couple words because you've got 3 new people that joined the Still Knicks fans army today?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy No Way Jose 1022, just reminding everybody, if we can get to 2,000 subscribers before the preseasons, we will be doing a giveaway. I know I didn't discuss that with Ron or John, but you know what? I don't care. I took over the mic. They invited me up here. So you know what? If we can get to 2,000 subscribers within 2 weeks, right? Because preseason starts in 2 weeks. We will be doing a giveaway, and we're also excited because these guys didn't mention it earlier or didn't mention it at all. I don't know why. We're also excited to announce season 3 coming soon of Still Knicks Fans Weekly Podcast. I'm out of here.
Hey, that's why he is who he is.
That's why Jose is who he is. That's right. He's 1/3 of the La Tres Mosqueritos. That's right. That's the Three Musketeers for people who don't know that once again. Anyway, all right. Yeah, man. So thank you guys for being here. As I always say, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still Knick fans. We'll be back again. Appreciate you. Oh, man. Look at this. On the way out, Jay Boogie in the building. Jay Boogie.
Nice.
Jay Boogie. Mofire. Rhythm Beats. Hold on. Rewind selector. Jay Boogie. Thank you for being here. Look at Jose. He's too good, guys. He is too good. Thank you for the generous super chat, man. I'm sorry we're on the way out, man, but appreciate you, man. He says, shout out to the chat. Opening home game versus Detroit. I will be shooting a video for the fans. The song is called The Biggest, produced by Mr. Sim NBK. Listen out for other details. Oh, dope. This is fantastic. Fantastic, Jay Boogie. Thank you for the generous super chat, and we can't wait till that drops. And of course, once it drops, we got to get it, and we'll be rocking it and playing it, wherever we can. Yeah. So thank you, brother, man.
And he's shooting the video. They're shooting the video during the first home game.
Wow. Wait, so Jay Boogie, does that mean you come into the Garden opening night? Are you going to be in the building?
Oh, we there.
Oh, yeah. Ron and John are still Knick fans. We'll be there, buddy. So we hope to see you. Well, okay, yeah. We might have to find you in the Garden. I don't know if you're sitting where we're sitting. We'll find you though. We'll make it happen, bro. We'll make it happen.
No doubt. Definitely.
All right, man. So this has been a great show and a nice little surprise at the end by Jay Boogie with an announcement with the mic drop.
Nice.
Let's go. Woo! Double mic drop. Anyway, thank you guys once again. We'll catch you on the next one. You guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy whatever's left for Monday Night Football. And, hey, go Giants.
All right, let's go. G-Man.
Later, y'all.